Hey guys, Tim here. Not with the Kindle Fire, but with the Kindle Fire remote. Stay tuned. Just like the Kindle Fire game controller comes in the easy open packaging. Frustration free, excuse me. So this is if you want to play games. Actually, feels pretty quality. So in the box you have the controller. You have two AA batteries. And there's a little manual in here. From what I've read so far, and I don't have a Kindle Fire, so I can't try that part of it out, but from what I've read so far, you can use this with your Kindle Fire or your Kindle Fire TV. And the shape seems awkward. I'll be honest right off the get-go. It's got a very flat top across the front there, as you can see. And ergonomically, it's actually okay. I wouldn't say it's as comfortable as the Xbox One controller. I actually really like that controller. But my favorite controller is still the Xbox 360 controller. Okay, guys, so we have a very flat front on this. I don't know ergonomically how I feel about that, but we do have two joysticks that have click activation, a D-pad that feels pretty nice actually. You have your X, Y, A, B buttons, of course, and then in the middle you have a return, a home, and a menu, as well as what I'm guessing is the power on button there. The shoulder buttons are actually, oh yeah, and then on the front you also have, across the front here, you have a play, pause, and a reverse and fast forward. The shoulder buttons are the ones I don't like the most. They feel very hard to press, especially if you're on the outer edge of them. And they do not have a very satisfying click. And the trigger buttons feel just fine. As far as I've seen, that there is no rechargeable version of this, which is kind of disappointing to see. It does not look like it has the capability to take a recharge pack. So it would have been nice to see that, especially for $30, at least having the function to have that capability. And it feels cheap compared to an Xbox 360 remote. So overall, feels kind of cheap in my opinion for a $30, even if it's wireless. For $30, I would actually expect better than this. The plastic feels cheap. It's not textured at all. It's not rechargeable. The shoulder buttons I really do not like. I do not like the fact that it has this flat front. Other than that, it seems okay. The shoulder buttons are pretty good. The analog buttons are in the same place that every other remote has them. And their click is okay. Everything else seems okay on this, but it would have been really nice to see a little more thought put into the fact that, if you have rechargeable AA's, I'm sure it'll work just fine. But, I can plug my Xbox extra remote I bought into my Xbox One and have it charge. So now that we've taken a look at the remote, let's go ahead and switch over to looking at the Kindle Fire, the menus and the setup, and see what we think about that. Hey guys, Tim here, just following up with the review of what I think of the Amazon Fire TV. So it's close. It's close to being good. The one thing I really don't like is the fact that how it displays shows. So let's do this. Stargate SG-1. So luckily I got it on the first try that time. I have found that the voice activation on this is not as good as the Xbox One in my opinion, and everybody's voice is different. The other thing I don't like, let's go back to that again and say, I don't know, what's a good movie? Let's do Cars. So voice search came up with it, and there's Cars. And there's a Prime Cars. Yay! Although it's not actual cars. And this is my biggest complaint. It doesn't show, right? So here's one. It has no HD. It has no thing. So let's pick this. And I can buy it or I can add it to my watch list. Well, what if it's, where's Netflix? I know that's on Netflix. Or let's like Cars. I know Cars is on Netflix. But it's not Prime and it's not, I can only buy it or rent it? What? You get no Amazon, you get no Hulu results. So that's kind of a bummer. And the thing I really don't like is the fact that, you know, you can see that there are Prime ones here, but there are no way that you can say just show Prime. At least as far as I have found so far. I've been, you know, goofing around with this for a week. And there's no way I can find that says, you know, anything that's not Prime, don't show it to me on search results. The other place that drives me insane is when you're in, you know, say TV, right? So you can go look at recently added to Prime, which is great. But you can't search. You know, there's like genres, editor's picks, all this stuff. The only way you can search for stuff is in the search. And you can only do voice search or text search. So that's not really that helpful because if I go to Netflix, which I don't have set up on this box right now, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So if I go to Netflix and I search, the only stuff that returns is the stuff that I can actually watch. I'd much rather have that. You know, I mean, you can have it show you things that aren't released, but I would much rather have it to the point where it just shows you what's there. So here's the other thing that's been driving me crazy. When you download a free item, Apple, when you do like downloads for Apple Store, you get a summary bill even for the free stuff. So they do send you free stuff just like Amazon's doing. But Apple waits and sends you, you know, if you do like 10 things in one day, Apple won't send you the email until the next day and it'll put all 10 things in the one email. So far, every free thing I've downloaded has generated an email. So if I download this right now, I'm going to get an email. And if I went and downloaded Hulu, I'd get an email. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Like I said, they're very close. And I will say, the remote here, I really do like it. It's very snappy. And I wish the Xbox One had a remote like this. Because the Xbox One, in my opinion, granted, now we're talking hundreds and hundreds of dollars difference in price. But the Xbox One, in my opinion, is a better value just all around, even though it's more expensive. So that aside, I don't know. For $100 plus the controller, which makes it $140, I'm just not overwhelmed. Like I said, it is very snappy. Like it goes through the screens nicely. I really do like the remote. The voice activation isn't bad. And it comes with a game called Sev-Zero. So let me grab the other remote. And we'll talk about why I don't like this. So here is the gaming controller. And I just find it very uncomfortable for me personally. The ergonomics are not very good on it. And no rechargeable batteries. The shoulder buttons are kind of ooky. So not my favorite controller. I prefer the PS4 and the Xbox One controller much, much more than this. And I prefer the Xbox 360 controller over everything. So this is actually a pretty fun game, I will say. It's from Amazon Game Studios, which I find hysterical just from the fact that please, you know, could you be more like Microsoft Game Studios? It's like, we'll just take our name and we'll just make it. So you guys know I work for Microsoft. I'm gonna do some bashing here, because let's make a game that looks just like Halo, and we'll use a title just like Microsoft does, and it's like Halo Tower Defense. So it is actually pretty fun. I'm not gonna deny that, and it's free. However, good God, pick something else. I mean, it's just like the guys you fight are aliens that look just like the Halo aliens, and you look just like a Spartan, and I don't know. So, to be honest, guys, the Amazon store doesn't have a lot of games. I've been looking through there, and it just doesn't have a lot of games that I'm interested on playing on a TV, right? I mean, it has a lot of games that I'm much more interested in playing on my Android device, like my Galaxy Tab 3. So I really, Amazon has said they sold out of this device, and they won't have for long, because I'm actually going to return this. And the reason why isn't because it's a bad device. It's because it doesn't do anything more or less than every other thing on the market. There's no like killer feature here that says, wow, I have to have this thing, because you don't. There's no killer app here. There's no killer feature that doesn't have any better, Prime Instant. If the Prime Instant menu was better and easier to use here than, say, on my Xbox One, then there would be a reason maybe to use it. But to be honest with you, if you have an Xbox One or a PlayStation or even an Xbox 360 or a Roku or a DVD player that does streaming, you have absolutely no use for this device at all. Now, yes, it does have a game controller that you can buy for it. The game controller is like almost $40. And it's not that good of a game controller. I mean, you can pick up, let me grab my nicely hidden away. So I use an Xbox 360 controller with my Media Center PC, or just with my PC on my desk. And, it's a much more enjoyable remote to use to begin with, but then the game selection is much better. You could have a laptop and plug it into your TV and use the Xbox controller and play games. Or have a Chromebook and plug it into your TV and use a controller to play Android games. So, like I said, it's a very nice device. It looks nice. The normal controller is nice. I wish the Xbox One had one just like it, to be honest with you. Because to me, if the Xbox One, like seriously guys, if the Xbox One had this remote, which is just some little Bluetooth remote that I could use to navigate around and not have to turn on my controller every time, I would just have an Xbox One, because you wouldn't really need anything else. So that said, like I said, I'll be returning this, and it really is just because there are no, for the price. I mean, you're looking at $100, and with the controller and tax, over $150, and it just does what everything else does. It's like, buy an Xbox One, buy a PS3. They're almost the same price now. I mean, you can buy like a used Xbox 360 or a used PS3. Do the same thing. Have controllers. You probably have a game library for it already. So, and to be honest with you guys, if you want just a little streaming box, personally, I'd buy, like a Sony Blu-ray player, because you can pick one up for like $79. It plays Blu-rays, and it has all the same streaming features. It just can't play Android games, but like I said, big deal. Use your handheld device to play the Android games. That's what they're meant for. Okay, so I would pass on this, guys. Really, it doesn't have enough over anything else that you probably already own that makes it worthwhile. Like, yes, it's kind of cool that it can play Android games, But honestly, the controller is garbage in my opinion. So, especially for $40. Like, you can buy an Xbox 360 remote for less than that now. And it's a much nicer controller. So, I don't know, that's me personally. But I would say pass. I'm actually going to return this. I don't think it's, what I was looking for, to the point that, I would get rid of my Xbox One, because I still enjoy the Xbox One, even though it drives me insane too, which I'll be doing a follow-up video on the foibles of it at some point. But like I said, guys, pass on the Fire TV unless you really, really, really want to own an Amazon device. Otherwise, buy a Roku. They use the same, they both are Linux distros. So, this is Tim for Timmy Tech TV, and not for the Amazon Fire TV. We'll see you next time.